Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli the Computer Guy, and this is the Daily Blob, and today I'm going to do something a little bit off script. This might make you feel a little uncomfortable in the modern world, but it's gonna be okay. Today's video, we're actually going to be talking about technology. I know, what? Yes, we're actually going to be talking about technology, and I might, maybe, perchance, say something nice about OpenAI. Now, I know this is gonna come as a shock to a lot of people, but I feel like every once in a while I have to do a video like this just so I can plant my flag on the right side of history. So what I think is interesting about this story today is basically the idea of where is the value in the technology industry? Is the value in the technology itself, or is the value in the product? If you can have a high quality product that solves people's problems, that basically just uses an if-else statement and a relational database, is that not better in many ways than the highest technology out there that isn't actually very useful for you? Again, think about this like with blockchain, right? Nobody will shut up about blockchain. But what the hell do you actually do with blockchain? Again, blockchain is a database system that has about 3 uses. Eli, it's the most amazing database system to ever exist. Great, what do you use it for? Bitcoin? Right? And that's the thing. Blockchain is the technology. Bitcoin is the product. Again, if you look at Ethereum, their blockchain, they have everything built on top of it. And so DAO, these distributive contracts or whatever. Again, there's the products that are built on top of the Ethereum technology. Again, like NoSQL databases. Again, a database system that actually changed the world. Our world is fundamentally different today than it was in 2010 because of this database system, something called NoSQL, right? But again, do you really care about NoSQL, or do you care about Twitter and all the social media sites and streams and everything that have been able to be created because of NoSQL? Again, you don't care about real-time media protocol, you do care about Netflix and YouTube. And so the interesting thing, right, this is one of the things that gets screwed up in a lot of people's mind, is they focus on the technology. The idea is the technology is the most important thing, when in reality, most of the time, the real value comes in the product that you're actually selling, the product that actually solves people's problems. And so I think about this with LLMs, large language models, Eli. And LLMs are, they're better than blockchain. They're better than, I'll give you that. They're better than blockchain. A little bit better, right? You have these LLMs that have come out, and everybody's putting out an LLM at this point in time, right? OpenAI obviously have their LLMs and their other multimodal models and all these kind of models. We'll just call it LLM. But they've got their models. Meta is just dumping models onto the market. DeepSeek, the Chinese, are really trying to screw with the Americans by open sourcing their models. Grok has a model. There's just a ton of models. You can download something called Ollama. Ollama is a really cool framework that allows you to interact with models using Python. But if you go to Ollama and you look at all the models you can download, holy crap, there's just a metric crap ton of them at this point in time. And the thing is, they do a lot of, they do a lot of magic tricks. They do a lot of things that are like, wow, that's cool. But then you get to the point of, is it actually useful? Are you actually going to use this cool thing? And I think that's where a lot of the issues with LLMs come out and things fall apart. Again, I've talked about this before. I went to a meetup a while ago at the All Things Open folks in Raleigh, in the Research Triangle. All Things Open, definitely go to one of those. Anyways, they had a speaker there from Microsoft. And so she actually was developing the AI component behind VS Code, right? So basically naming conventions. Again, a real problem to solve with AI. Naming conventions in your scripts, right? Again, you've got to name stuff, you've got to name functions, you got to name variables. What the hell do you name it? That's the real pain in the ass. And so her little AI agent goes through and it offers you names, and then will modify anything where you've used other names before. Anyways, and so she was talking about that. And the curious thing was, so again, Research Triangle is great for technology. If you want to get into technology, go to Research Triangle. But anyway, so we got like 150 people in the room. And so she says, yes, over the past year, how many people here have worked with AI LLMs? Like half the room. Like there's so many hands go up. She's like, okay. So out of all the people out there, how many people in the past year have actually shipped a product with AI as a component? And one hand went up, right? Because that's the thing. It's not that LLMs aren't cool. It's not that they're not like a technological marvel. The problem is at the end of the day, no, seriously, what the hell do you actually do with the LLMs to make them a really valuable product? Again, I think about this with myself. So I pay for ChatGPT. So I do pay. What I actually do, I write my check or I swipe my credit card for $20 a month for ChatGPT. And so when I'm working on Silicon Dojo projects, so tech education, basically I use it when I have to come up with weird code. Again, I don't like JavaScript. So anyways, making sure my JavaScript syntax is fine or something else. Again, little code problems. I use it for that. And I use it to create thumbnails. You know those cool thumbnails that are at the side of my videos nowadays? Fuck, $20 a month to create those thumbnails. That's a bargain at twice the price. So that, again, though that solves my problems. I need to verify syntax for code, and I need thumbnails. But, you know, that's kind of like a niche solution there. If you need that, it's great, and it's worth 20 bucks a month, I suppose. But one of the interesting questions that comes up is, again, how many people actually need that? 20 times X, 20 at scale, where do you get to? And that's, I think, one of the problems that we run into with a lot of this stuff with AI, it is amazing technology. It's not intelligent. AI is amazing. It's just not intelligent. And for many things, it's actually not that functional and not that useful. And so I think the interesting thing that we start looking at with OpenAI now is that whole question of how do they actually make a useful product that they can sell at scale in order to maintain their valuation. So one of the big issues that I'm concerned about with OpenAI right now is the whole Netscape conundrum, right? So I've talked about this for a while at this point in time. So Netscape, back in the day, I guess it was back in 1995, Netscape came out, it was like 93, 95. Anyways, Netscape came out and it was a web browser. What if you could surf the World Wide Web from your computer at home? All right, that was an amazing thing back then. Anyways, so there was this thing called a Netscape, and they came out with a web browser, and they sold it for 40 bucks a pop. $40 a pop back in the early and mid 1990s, right? And again, it was an amazing piece of technology that allowed a lot of people to do a lot of cool things, and you couldn't argue with much about it. The fucking blinking tags. The blinking tags and the neon color schemes for the 1990s were not Netscape's fault. Beyond that, again, you couldn't really argue too much with Netscape, right? If I had said back in 1995 that Netscape is gonna be bankrupt, you would have all called me a moron. Right, but the thing was, Netscape came out with this good product. Bill Gates looked at that product and went, wow, I bet we could half-ass a version of that and give it away for free. And that's what they did. They created a half-assed version of Netscape. They entwined it into the operating system, which ended up paying me a shit ton of money over the years. Thank you, Bill Gates, for tying Internet Explorer into the Windows registry. You, my friend, made me a shit ton of money. It caused a lot of other problems, but it made me money. Anyways, right? So Internet Explorer comes out. They give it away for free. There's actually an antitrust trial. There's this whole Megillah. And again, that's one of the things to understand with politics and law, how it affects you as a technology professional. When I talk about that whole registry thing, so the registry is kind of like the back-end database where configurations are stored for Windows. And so the issue with Internet Explorer is that if it was its own individual product, then it would be a product that Microsoft was giving away in an uncompetitive fashion, right? And so Netscape could sue them, was sued over antitrust. So what Microsoft did, and again, this is how legal issues spill over into the tech support world. So basically what they decided to do is, well, if Internet Explorer was integral, deeply tied into the operating system, then it's not simply an add-on application that they're giving away. This is just simply a piece of functionality that their operating system needs, right? So that's what they did. They deeply tied Internet Explorer into the operating system. And yeah, they won their, they got out of their monopolistic suit, antitrust suit or whatever, but it caused a tremendous amount of damage to users. Because again, if you go back to Windows XP Service Pack 1, if you literally went to a website could literally drop registry edits into your computer without you even being notified. It wasn't even like a box popped up and you had to say okay or you trusted something along the way. Literally by going to a website, could compromise your entire system. And that goes back to the antitrust lawsuit that had to do with Netscape. And so again, Netscape and web browsers, obviously incredibly valuable, useful technologies, the whole 9 yards. Netscape, most of you folks have never even seen Netscape before because Microsoft killed it. And again, if you look at the web browsers nowadays, again, whatever Microsoft is doing, I guess it's called Edge now, again, is owned by Microsoft. Safari is owned by Google. Chrome, Safari is owned by Apple. Chrome is owned by Google. And you have Mozilla. Woo! You have Mozilla out there. That's gonna survive for a couple more minutes, right? You've also got some other ones out there. But again, now it's more, again, it's the technology has continued, but now it's a value add-on to other companies, not to Netscape. And so when I look at OpenAI, and again, you look at the competitive environment that OpenAI is currently in, again, with Mark Zuckerberg, doing what alpha dogs do, He's like, oh, we're not in the AI business. So we're just gonna produce these LLMs and give them away for free, right? Again, if you look at Llama, so Llama is Meta's LLM. They have this weird, it's not open source, it's definitely not open source, but basically the rules are, as long as you have like less than 700 million users per month, you can use it in a corporate environment. So he's just giving that shit away. Right? Again, you have DeepSeek, you have China. And again, when we talk about geopolitics and why geopolitics matter to you as a technology professional is right now, our president is trying to play big dog with China. And one of the things, ways we're trying to play big dog is this whole AI crap. So wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be just absolutely hilarious, essentially, if China gave AI away for free? Oh, Mr. White Man, half the world away. Oh, you think AI is valuable? Oh, you paying the mortgage off of AI? Oh, you beating me with a club you bought with your AI? Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give AI away for free. How you gonna pay your mortgage now, white boy? Right? Again, we talk about politics. Why are you talking about politics? Because shit matters, right? So again, when you see DeepSeek coming out, when you see, I think Alibaba came out with their own version, when you see these coming out, right, there is a geopolitical reason for China to drop this shit onto the global market for free. Oh, we want to treat them like assholes? Two can play that dumbass game. And so that's the issue you get with OpenAI is, right, OpenAI has these models, again, LLMs and reasoning models, multimodal models, we just call it LLMs. But there is this whole question about, yeah, but what is the product that you're actually selling? The technology you have is good. Again, we get the charts. We get the chart. And can I be honest with you? I don't know what the fuck charts mean. Do you ever get those times you feel like, it's like, I'm not a boomer. but I do feel like one sometimes. And that's a funny thing. Like when I see gaming channels and when I see AI channels, I feel like such a boomer. Because like the gaming channels, right? They'll come up. And I was watching this because they're to Computex. Computex is going on right now, right? So Gamers Nexus, these other people come up in my feed. Man, they do these videos on graphics cards. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They have charts, and there's animations, and there's colors. I mean, I technically know what the fuck they're talking about, but oh my God, right? There's all this stuff. And so like this card will give you this frame rate at 1080p with ray tracing, but if you go to 4K without ray tracing, you get this FPS. And so this FPS is 20% more than this FPS. And so obviously, you know what the fuck that means. I don't know, right? You get all these like, it's amazing. Let me just say, if I was half as smart as some of you people think I am, I'd be doing videos about graphics cards. Again, I still don't get it. To this day, I don't fucking get it. Like I remember, like many years ago, right? Jay's 2 cents and all these YouTubers started to become popular again in the tech world, and I was like, ooh, let me see what they're doing. Maybe I'll copy that. And I watch a lot of their videos, and I was like, I don't understand. Why the fuck does anybody watch this? It's just a video of charts. We're like talking about fans. Well, you see, this CPU fan, it's great. Like the Gamers Nexus guy's got the big, that long hair going on. And he's like sitting there, Computex. He's explaining to you like the angle of CPU fan. I'm like, what the fuck? Do you actually care about the words that are coming out of your mouth? Do you find that interesting? God bless if you do. But anyways, it's the same thing with the AI folks. The AI, like the AI channels, and they'll come out, and there's all these AI benchmarks. Yeah, well, as you can see, Llama Gazillion 5B versus Pi 3.5 extra wide against DeepSeek under the sea, and you can look at that chart. What? Who the fuck cares? Who cares? You know what you do? You know what you do with that information? You figure out the 3 best, you figure out the 3 or 4 best currently. You test them in your product, you pick one, and then you just coast for the next couple of months as you build out the rest of the platform. And then as you go, maybe some will get better, then you tweak, and then you tweak, and then you tweak. But that's one of the issues, right? You got all these LLMs, models, and all that kind of stuff out there. OpenAI, maybe it's the best, maybe it's not, whatever else. But the issue that they're running into is, yeah, but what's the product? And what's the product that you can scale commercially? Because again, like I say, I pay the $20 a month for ChatGPT, but it's a very narrow thing. Like if I wasn't doing coding and if I didn't need thumbnails, I wouldn't pay $20 a month for it. And they have $200 versions, but apparently they're even losing money on the $200 version. So like whoever the hell needs a $200 version, again, literally, how many of those people are out there? And then even that, they're losing money on. And the issue that they're running into, again with OpenAI, is that they're worth $100 billion. They're worth $100 billion with revenue in the thousands. Right? That's an issue. That's an issue. And the whole thing, again, like with a startup, the idea is you're supposed to ramp to get somewhere, right? And the issue, though, is what happens to your technology gets really good, but you still don't have much to sell, right? And so that's where we get into what's currently going on with OpenAI and Jony Ive. And so what we have here now is that OpenAI has purchased Jony Ive's industrial design company. So Jony Ive left Apple a few years ago, created this company called I.O. I guess that was a year or two ago for basically industrial design. And what OpenAI has done within the last couple of days is basically purchased that design company for $6.5 billion. So if you don't know who Jony Ive was, whatever, basically he worked for Apple since like 1992. So he worked there from 1992 till relatively recently. And basically he was the person to design a lot of the products that we use, the Apple products that we use. So again, when you look at the design philosophy for a company, basically he's the guy that helped create the design philosophy for Apple products. So when you use an Apple product, all Apple products feel very similar, right? Again, if you use a Dell product, all Dell products feel very similar, all Apple products feel very similar, all Samsung products feel very similar. And so basically Jony Ive is considered a master in the field for design because it's felt that his design aesthetic has just been terrific. And so he has been credited with the success of modern Apple for really being pushed into, the normal realm for most folks. So anyways, he was with Apple for like 25 years or whatever. I don't think he got pushed out or anything. He was making a crap ton of money. Like he was making, it was something like, I was looking at his, how much he was making. He was making like $30 million a year plus something like $25 million in stock options. So to be clear, guy was making money, right? Anyways, went off to start his own design studio, basically created that. Again, this company called I.O. and now OpenAI has purchased it for $6.5 billion. And why that becomes interesting then is that it shows that OpenAI is now looking at the concept of how do they actually create a product that they can scale and sell commercially. LLMs isn't even going to get them to that $100 billion valuation. The valuation that they currently have, LLMs isn't that valuation. And it sure fucking ain't gonna get them to $1 trillion or whatever else. And so the curious thing that we start looking at, again, is this whole idea of how can OpenAI use their systems, use their technology in order to create products that people are willing to spend money for. Again, if you look at the $3 trillion valuation of Apple or whatever it currently is at, again, that comes from people willing to spend $1,000 on an iPhone. Right, $1,000 just on the iPhone looks a hell of a lot better than $20 a month off the LLM service. Not only that, but if you buy iCloud, that's another $10 a month. Oh, you want Apple Music? That's another $15 a month. Oh, you want Apple TV? I don't know why you'd want it, but that's another, whatever, $10 a month. So not only, again, I think if you get the package, it's like $30 a month. So not only do you spend $1,000 for the phone, but then you spend $30 a month for these other services. That looks like a scalable business model. And so what becomes interesting here, again, this whole idea of what happens when OpenAI gets into the world of hardware development, and then what does technology look like once OpenAI pushes into this realm. Again, one of the things I've been talking about for a while is the whole idea that people talk about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs invented the smartphone. 1, no, and 2, no, and 3, no. 1, it wasn't him, it was his engineers that did it, right? He poked and prodded and beat the shit out of them, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't the one to create it. And 2, we had smartphones for a long time. Again, BlackBerry had been around for a decade. BlackBerry had been around for a decade. Windows had gone through like 3 mobile operating systems, Windows CE, Windows whatever mobile. Again, my favorite phone of all time was something called the Motorola Q. Palm had their own operating system. All these companies had smartphones and again, had good success. Again, BlackBerry of its era. If I had said in 2005 that BlackBerry would be a footnote, you all would have called me a dipshit. And now how many of you have ever seen a BlackBerry? What, they died in 2010 essentially, right? Anyways, right? All these products that existed, they just hadn't really caught fire for whatever reason. And what becomes interesting with this whole idea of OpenAI buying Jony Ive's development company in order to create hardware is we see the same kind of landscape, kind of like in environmental computing. Again, if you look at Amazon and their Alexa, right? I remember when the Echo Dots came out. Remember when the Echo Dots came out? I would have bet on that. This is why I don't invest in startups. It's like, that's a good idea. This is why I'm so bitter. Because there's so many good ideas. anyways, right? Anyways, right? You had Alexa, and they had their Echoes, and they had their Dots, and all this. Oh my God, they spent so much money putting stuff into Alexa. And then like a year ago, finally wrote off like $10 billion. They're basically killing the Alexa department because for whatever reason, they couldn't make the damn thing work. Again, Google Home, right? Again, it's Google. You want to talk about how much crap Google fails at? Again, and this is one of the big things I really want you to understand. Like, there's this idea, like when a big company moves into a vertical in the tech world, they're going to take it over. Google proves it doesn't happen, right? Remember Google Plus? I do. Anyways, right? Again, Google Home, right? It's going to be your home assistant. You're going to be able to talk to Google. And I guess it sort of exists. I mean, I've known a few people that actually use it, but to say that it was a subpar experience, I think is overdoing it a little bit, right? That, God knows what the fuck has happened with that. Again, you look at Apple. Again, Apple. Again, I'm not sure I'm an Apple fanboy. I am locked into their system though. I've got a HomePod. I've got a real HomePod, right? That $350 beast. Bought it years ago at this point. And you know what I do with that HomePod? I listen to music. Everybody's like, Eli, that HomePod isn't as smart as Alexa, and the HomePod isn't this, and the HomePod isn't that, and the HomePod isn't the other thing. But you know what the HomePod does? Plays music. I say, Siri, play Taylor Swift. And it plays Taylor Swift. Because that's what I wanted out of it. But I gotta say, as the years have gone by, I still only use it to play Taylor Swift. Literally, I tell it to, actually Selena Gomez, to be honest with you. HomePod, I'm a little more Selena Gomez fan. But anyways, I tell it to play me Selena Gomez. I ask what time it is. I ask what the weather is. And I use it for timers. That's what I use my $350, $399, whatever. That's what I use my expensive ass HomePod for. Plays some really good Selena Gomez. Not so good with timers. Fuck. Really fucks up the timer sometimes. But anyways, that's its own deal. So think about that. Right? You had this whole smartphone world, which was its own kerfuffle. Again, if you hadn't dealt with BlackBerry Enterprise Server, oh God, that was a shit show. Oh, I'd have clients call me to configure that piece of crap. I swear to God, you do the configurations, you'd swing a dead cat over it 9 times, and you would just pray that it worked. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't work. Why? Fuck knows. I deployed quite a few of those systems, and I can tell you to this day, I'm not sure why any of them worked. They did. We tested it. Verified the damn thing worked before I went out the door. Not really sure why it worked. But anyways, right? And that was the thing, right? You had Palm. That's a weird ass operating system. You had BlackBerry that should have like just owned everything, but didn't really. Then again, you had Windows. Again, it had something called ActiveSync, which was amazing back in the day, but also was like, again, you had all these like, not bad, they weren't bad products, they just weren't taking over the world. Again, and the iPhone came in and it just tied everything together in a way those other products didn't, and most of those products are gone nowadays. Again, you talk about large tech companies failing in a vertical. Microsoft doesn't have a phone anymore. Again, Microsoft had years of phone. This is one of the things that gets missed. So again, you had iOS come out, then you had Android come out, and then Microsoft had their latest, and was their latest mobile version came out that failed. But what people forget is they had like 15 years of mobile operating systems before that particular one failed. But they just couldn't get market share. And I know people that used Windows Phone back in the day, and they loved it for the 4 apps they had on their phone. Anyways, so it becomes interesting now. What becomes very fascinating now, again, dare I say, I might actually be getting interested in OpenAI, is this the perfect landscape for OpenAI to come in and actually create the iPhone killer, right? To own the environmental computing landscape, where I can just go in and I can talk to my house. I can go in and I can talk to things. I think about this with Intel. So Intel back in the day, they came out with their Edison system on a chip. So it's about a quarter size system on a chip. 2012, 2013 timeframe. Very cool for the time frame. Anyways, and one of the things that came out in that whole selection of products was something called Jarvis. So when they're talking about augmented reality, right? So everybody else was talking about augmented reality, and they're talking about these glasses. Oh, God. Don't get me wrong. Technically, they work great. Oh, I don't want to use them. So what I was interested in with augmented reality was Jarvis from Intel. And the thing was, basically it kind of looked like a weird ass hearing aid, but you put it over your ear and then you talk to it and it talked to you. So you could say, hey, Jarvis, and what is my schedule? What is my latest appointment? Or hey, Jarvis, send a message, whatever. And it had no screen, literally no screen at all, completely right? Audio. And then Intel, you'll notice a trend with these large companies. Just failing, right? Anyway, God knows what happened to Jarvis. I don't know what happened. It was a really good idea. Anyways, maybe it got sold with their 5G modems. Who knows? Division. And so it becomes interesting now, right? If OpenAI gets in this world, and again, and they have these LLMs. Now, what is the real value of LLMs? What is the real value of LLMs? Not the horse crap, not all the kids are like, right? Not creating fucking, thumbnails for my stupid ass videos, right? What is the real value of these LLMs, right? Is natural language processing. Being able to talk to the computer in natural language, and the computer being able to process in natural language to be able to give you useful answers. And think about that, useful answers. So think about this. So right now, right, I get a fucking email from Louis Rossmann. Oh, who the fuck taught Louis Rossmann voice to text? I want to go throttle that bastard. Anyways, I get books from Louis. Not very often. Every once in a while, something cool happens to Louis. I get a book. Fucking book. Right? He starts talking into his phone. 30 minutes later, I get a book. But it's Louis, I gotta read this thing, right? Again, same thing. You get these books from people. And the thing is, again, with a smartphone, you got a book, right? What does it do? Email. They send you email, right? They turn voice into text. That text uses SMTP to get to you, and then it shows up on the screen. You can do text back to voice, right? That's one of the things that this thing can do. Maybe that's, I don't know. It's just a crappy situation all the way around. Now here's the thing. If you had some of the best natural language processing systems in the world, and you had lots of people using these systems in the whole 9 yards, wouldn't it be a better solution of Louis talks to me, talks a book to me, that text gets sent to me, I then have my AI device, because I do not have a screen, and you can say, Eli, Louis Rossmann sent you an email. What if I can simply say, not read me the fucking email. Don't got time for that right now. Say, oh, great. What does Louis Rossmann want? And it could say, apparently, a trillionaire has offered Louis Rossmann all the money in the world to do what he really wants to do, but he's unsure if he should do it. I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Hey, computer device, can you remind me about this in about an hour? Sure. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, computer device? Okay, Louis sent me all that. Is Louis expecting a response from me? Yes, Louis would appreciate a phone call as soon as you have a chance. Oh, okay. You know what? I don't want to read this whole thing. Call Louis and he can just explain to me what the fuck is going on, right? That is value of natural language processing. That's where you're taking SMTP and all these other technologies and you're running it, again, like I say, through an LLM to provide a valuable solution. I am not getting an email. I am learning about an update of somebody that I may or may not care about. I am not simply getting an email, I am getting a call to action for a request or whatever else. Right? Again, imagine if I have these LLMs and I have this device, and right now, so I'm going to Web Summit. So for me, I'm going to Web Summit tomorrow. When you're watching this video, I'm going to Web Summit in like a couple hours. But anyways, I'm going to Web Summit. Oh, fuck, it's a shit show. Hey, look, I'm honest to you. I love Web Summit. Web Summit is fabulous. As a media person, you can't find a better conference than Web Summit. If you like to do media, stuff and you want to go to a tech conference, Web Summit, hands down. I've been to a collision conference, I've been to actual Web Summit. They are great as far as media goes. But there's this whole thing where they try to set you up with like speakers and things. So speakers and attendees, there's this whole list. As a media person, I get to make a request in order to interview people, and they've got interview rooms, the whole 9 yards. We're gonna do a whole bunch of interviews, a whole bunch of cool stuff. But that's when the good ends. It's like they give me this form so I can fill out, so I can make a request, and then they actually reach out to all these people, right? So they get my list of people I'd like to talk to, and then they do the reach out in order to do a communication back. And then when somebody says yes to them, I then get this little email thing so that we can then schedule an appointment. And it's all good up until that point. It's all red carpet and wonderful up until that point. Problem, fuck me. Once you get past that point, it just turns into a shit show, right? Because I got like a lot of people. So I've got people that I've now communicated with, that I want to do meetings with. I have other people that I want to do meetings with. I have other people that I need to meet. And again, it's like 4 days, and you've got scheduling, and there's meetups to go to, and there's events that I want to see, and there's other, right? And so I got this mess of time. I've just got this 4-day ball of schedule slots. And I think I did it right. I fucking think I did it right. Probably not. Hopefully I don't miss anybody. That's always bad. But anyways, like I look at that. And again, that's the normal system we have now. I've got a $3,000 MacBook Pro, a fucking $1,500 iPhone, and I got just massive schedule slots. Right? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if I had an AI device, right? And I could literally tell the AI device from OpenAI, be like, okay, here is the information for Web Summit. So again, MCP. Oh, is that what it's called? So there's a protocol. Was it Cursor, Anthropic? Anyways, they came out with an agent protocol that everybody seems to be going along with. It's either Cursor or Anthropic. One of them. Anyways, and it's basically a whole way for how AIs can communicate with each other. So what if I was able to tell OpenAI, I am going to Web Summit under media credentials. OpenAI, my account with OpenAI, could then communicate with Web Summit's OpenAI to say, my user is a media person, maybe even give them the information, give the information of who I am, and I want all the information about Web Summit as far as a computer is concerned. When does Web Summit open? When does Web Summit close? When are the media hours open? When are time slots for the interview rooms open? When are all of the events? Give me a feed of all of the events, all of that kind of stuff, and it brings it in to OpenAI system. And then OpenAI can just ask me, hey, is there anything that you're interested in going to Web Summit? Is there anything that you are particularly interested in? And I can say, yes, AI. There we go, the fuck about AI. Just auto slot me for anything that has to do with AI. And then imagine if it just automatically creates my little agenda with AI or whatever other things in there, right? So it puts that in there. But then it also connects to my email account. And so I can say, okay, OpenAI, I'm going to be getting interview requests from people. I would like to use the interview rooms that they have at Web Summit. So as these time requests come in, just auto slot me. So auto slot me based off of their availability, interview room availability, and anything I've already scheduled. right? And so it could go in, it could do all this stuff, and it could just auto slot things in for me. And then it could say, well, this person with their availability, there wasn't any open slot. You said you wanted to go to these AI events. Eli, would it be okay to cancel this particular AI presentation so that you can go, so you can interview this person? Be like, fuck, I really want to go to that presentation. Is there a different presentation that can be canceled instead? Yes, the presentation before can be canceled instead. Great, slot me for that one. Right? That is the next level of computing, right? And the curious thing then becomes is once you start interacting with computers in that fashion, do you need this? Right? The issue with these pieces of crap, right? These are drugs. These are drugs. Steve Jobs knew they were drugs, right? Knew that we're going to get addicted. Once you're addicted, you will run your credit card for that next $1,500 fix. And the reason that they're drugs is because there are a lot of addictive components on here, right? So there's social media, that type of thing, games, right? Addictive doom scrolling type things. But a lot of us are like, we don't want to doom scroll. I will not doom scroll anymore. And then it's like 3 hours later, you're doom scrolling. You're like, fuck, what happened? Well, why? Well, because you've also got your email on here. And you've also got, like, I've got my health stuff. I've got my running stuff. Like, I've got my running things on here. I've got my health stuff on here. I've got my music stuff on here. Right? Weather. There's a whole lot of stuff I don't doom scroll. Like you will never see me doom scroll the weather. Oh yeah, dear, I just spent like 5 hours looking at the weather. Right? But the thing is like, crap, I'm gonna go out for a run this morning. I just wanna make sure that it's not gonna rain before my run. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, it's not gonna rain. Oh, let me check my email. Oh, okay, well, let me check the news. Oh, interesting. Is anybody talking about that on social media? Think about how that process. The fact that you have both addictive components to your phone and just normal whatever utility components to your phone create an amazingly addictive experience that many people around the world find deteriorate our actual quality of life. As many ways as this has improved things, it has also caused problems. Again, by its design, by its fundamental design. What becomes interesting, though, is what happens if you don't need a screen, right? Again, when Louis Rossmann sends me a book, like he does, I can simply ask, what's going on with Louis? And he can tell me. Does Louis need me to contact him back? Can tell me. Hey, whatever, when I actually sit down at a real computer, when I have a real computer, right? Next time I log into my real computer, flag this for me so that I can figure out what to do, right? Think about when it all becomes verbal. Again, when I have this AI computer and it connects to my fitness stuff, what happens when I say, hey, what was my VO2 max for today? How does that compare to my VO2 max last week? Am I getting better or getting worse? I can simply talk to it. What is the weather? All of this stuff. And it actually is a useful product. It's not Alexa. It's not Home Assistant. It's not HomePod, right? It's an actual useful product. How does that fundamentally change the environment with how we do computing tasks? And then how does that change our industry? Right, again, like with Uber, whether you look at Uber or you look at Grubhub or you look at Airbnb, you look at any of these major companies that have changed our lives over the past 15 years, they changed our lives with this. Again, VRBO existed before Airbnb, and it was fine. It was fine, right? If you want to do that internet thing with your hotel stay, you could use VRBO. But yeah, nobody's like, again, when you have a startup company, and they've got to give their elevator pitch, Nobody's standing up on the damn stage saying, we're the VRBO for dog dating, right? Because VRBO was created in the era before these damn things, right? Airbnb was created for the mobile world. Uber, Lyft, Grubhub. So much of this crap was designed for the mobile world. Instagram, TikTok. And so curious thing to be thinking about, again, if OpenAI can take off with whatever product it is they're creating, and they can actually refine it, they are not yet another footnote, and maybe Anthropic really does it, but anyways, they don't become another footnote. One of the things to be thinking about, what is the TikTok for an audio-only environment? Right? What is the Grubhub? What is the Uber? And it may not even be Uber. It may be something else entirely. Like how does the form, again, the medium is the message, right? Oh, greatest book. If you have not read that, fuck. Oh, don't get old. Don't get older. Greatest book out there. If you have not read this book, read this book. The medium is the message or the massage. This book is from the 60s. It was talking about how the Xerox machine and the technology changed the actual message that came from the written language, right? When you have to, by hand, write out every book, you're basically only gonna get Bibles, right? When you create the printing press, right, and you need to sell a lot of something, right? You're gonna print each individual page. You don't want to print one page. You want to print like 5,000 of each pages, right? You want to sell 5,000 books. You don't want to sell one book with a printing press. So you're going to sell the most popular things. Literally, the message that gets presented to the world depends on the technology that message is being presented by. Right? And so they're talking about here with the Xerox machine is how you could have desktop publishing. Again, when I was young, it was called desktop publishing. How does desktop publishing, when you can publish for an audience of 100, how does that change the message that gets presented? And again, we've seen that with the internet, and then with the internet, with mobile devices. And then the question that becomes, in an audio-only AI-centric world, how does that change the message that you're being presented, right? And the products that are going to be presented to you? Something to ponder. So anyways, let's get to the actual blog post here from OpenAI and Jony Ive. Am I allowed to say that? That is an odd picture. I'm not sure what YouTube will ban me for at this point in time, but we can all say that's a little bit of an odd picture. That's are they cuddling afterwards? Is this like an afterglow moment? I'm not sure. Sam Altman pays you $6.5 billion. You cuddle with him afterwards, I suppose. It's all good. It's just a weird picture. It's even weird how they wrote it. It's like a wedding thing, right? When you get a wedding invitation or whatever. Like, this is on the internet. It's all like in cursive or whatever. On this day, we would appreciate if you came together for the matrimony between this AI geek and this design geek. May 21, 2025. That's when I'm doing this. That was about 4 days ago. This is an extraordinary moment. And I actually will say it might be. You know me. You know how snarky I am. This might be a game changer. Computers are now seeing, thinking, and understanding. Despite this unprecedented capability, our experience remains shaped by traditional products and interfaces. And that's true. And again, this is one of the things I've been arguing about for a long time. And again, one of the reasons I get a little tired with how we do computers in the modern world. Again, it is kind of weird. Like this computer fundamentally looks like a computer from 1995. Oh, you got a keyboard, you got a mouse, you got a screen. Like, don't get me wrong, the IOPS and all that horse shit is better. But like otherwise, again, even smartphones, I mean, it's faster and cheaper or whatever, but it's still just basically a computer device like we had before. 2 years ago, Jony Ive and the creative collective Love Form quietly began collaborating with Sam Altman and the team at OpenAI. A collaboration built upon friendship, curiosity, and shared values quickly grew in ambition. Tentative ideas and explorations evolved into tangible designs. The ideas seemed important and useful. They were optimistic and hopeful. Because you should definitely be optimistic and hopeful with a technology that's more dangerous than nuclear weapons. I swear to God, the emotional whiplash you go through in the AI world, fuck me. They need to create airbags. They create airbags. Like 1 minute, they're like, this is more dangerous than nuclear weapons. The next minute, optimistic and hopeful. Fuck. Again, as a Buddhist, can we all calm down? Can we all just... the middle way. The middle way. It's not as dangerous as nuclear weapons. Maybe don't be so optimistic. Can we just balance it out a little bit? They were inspiring. They made everyone smile. Sure. Anyways, they reminded us of a time when we celebrated human achievement, grateful for new tools that helped us learn, explore, and create. It became clear that our ambitions to develop, engineer, and manufacture a new family of products demanded an entirely new company. And so 1 year ago, Jony founded I.O. with Scott Cannon, Evans, Henke, and Tang Tan. We gathered together the best hardware and software engineers, the best technologists, physicists, scientists, researchers, and experts in product development and manufacturing. Many of us have worked closely for decades. The I.O. team focused on developing products that inspire, empower, and enable will now merge with OpenAI to work more intimately with the research, engineering, and product teams in San Francisco. As I.O. merges with OpenAI, Jony and Love From will assume deep design and creative responsibilities across OpenAI and I.O. We could not possibly be more excited. And so again, listen to that and then think about flashing back 20 some odd years, again in the Apple world. I remember when Apple sucked. Again, 2013 MacBook Pros, fucking awesome. I loved my 2013 MacBook Pro, and I've liked my Macs ever since. The Macs I had before then, not so good. Not so good. But anyways, right? There's a hardware, and there's the design component, right? So as they worked on the hardware, they improved the storage, they improved the processors, they improved the screen. You combine that with the design aesthetic, you bring that all together, and you get a nice $1 trillion company, $3 trillion company. Right, so what becomes interesting here is that with this I.O. design company, that it's now going to be part of OpenAI, right? It's not something on the outside that is weirdly duct taped to the technology. And again, this is what I would argue, even with the big players, even with Alexa, with Amazon, and even with Home Assistant, with Google, and even with HomePod, with Apple of all companies. It's weirdly fucking duct taped on. Like an afterthought. Like, oh, we should do voice too. Okay, get the intern to do it. Like if you told me all those companies, basically the voice divisions were run by the interns, I'd be, oh, fair enough. Right? It's weird. I mean, like how much money and resources went into those divisions? They're just so duct taped on, right? So it becomes interesting here, again, is this whole thing of what if the design and the hardware and that core technology are melded into one product where everybody gets a seat at the table. Again, a world-class designer with, I'm not really sure Sam Altman's credentials. He controls OpenAI. So anyways, he's powerful in the AI world, right? What if everybody that's sitting around that table in order to create a product not only is best in class at what they do, but also really gets a say at that table, really has agency in the product to make sure the final product comes out as best as it can, right? You know, Jony Ive says, this is how it needs to look, this needs to be the form factor, this is whatever. You know, the hardware people are like, look, this is what we can fit in this amount of space. And then you have the AI phone, and they're like, well, we can do this. Do we use 5G? Do we do something else? What if they come together to create the AI version of the iPhone? That could actually be a game changer. And again, the interesting thing with this isn't talking about like the watch, right? The Apple Watch or the Android Watch or whatever else. Those are additional peripherals, right? Those were not revolutionary. Even the iPads and tablets, I would argue really weren't revolutionary. They're useful, don't get me wrong, very useful products, but not revolutionary, right? Again, the laptop was revolutionary, the internet was revolutionary, broadband was revolutionary, 4G was revolutionary, iPhones and then the Android devices were revolutionary, right? Fundamentally change how we do things. Again, I want you to understand, when I was in the Army in 96, again, I had a friend of mine, and she had to explain to me online porn. Again, you look at the news nowadays and there's all these laws and all this crap going on about online porn. You have to understand, there was a point when I was an adult in the Army, and I just couldn't get my head around online porn. And she was like, yeah, my boyfriend and I, we go and we look at pictures of naked people online. I was like, what? You mean you go to that computer over there and there's this internet thing and that shows you naked people? She was like, yes. I was like, really? Right? Again, changes the world. Good, bad, changes the world. Again, internet, change the world. Broadband, change the world. Mobile, change the world. AI, environmental computing. That could be the paradigm shift. Or I would argue, it's not even AI. Fuck AI, don't care about AI. AI isn't intelligent. That's not the important thing. Think about environmental computing. Think about natural language processing systems that tie in to important services so that you can actually have a conversation or whatever else, right? It's not just an add-on. Again, apparently with the HomePod, I can call an Uber from a HomePod. I don't trust it. I trust my HomePod to play me Selena Gomez. I do not trust my HomePod to call me an Uber. Right? I just don't. Right? That's a bridge too far. But imagine if they could actually put that system out, and then what does that look like from an infrastructure standpoint? If you are providing services, technology services to your company in, let's say, 2027, what does your infrastructure start to look like? Again, what are the products that you have to deploy? What does the maintenance of those products look like? What does the security of those products look like? How do you train? How do you upskill your staff in order to make sure that they can actually use these damn things, right? You know, things to consider. Again, if you're a CIO or you're a CTO and you start looking at this, right? Again, world changing, absolutely fucking world changing. But here's a question for you. How much do you think these devices will cost? And again, what will the monthly cost be, right? So you got a company, you got 1,000 employees. It's like, wow, you know that thing Eli's talking, I want one of those for my 1,000 employees. Well, it's $1,000 per widget. That's $1 million to get all your employees with those things. And then one of the questions you have to ask is, does that actually replace this? Or is it that thing plus this, right? This did not replace my computer. You have to buy me a computer and you have to buy me a phone. Now is it you have to buy me a computer and you have to buy me a phone and you have to buy me this thing? holy shit. All of a sudden, you go to start onboarding employees, and you're dropping $5,000 on hardware costs for every employee you bring on board. Again, might be time to start kissing the CFO's ass. Hey, CFO, what kind of alcohol do you like? You're getting a case of it, right? Again, and thinking about that, like, again, how would it be deployed? Who would it be deployed to? The whole 9 yards. Again, those are the kinds of things to be thinking about from a technology standpoint. And then, again, if you want to be a technology entrepreneur, it was interesting, right? I was talking to, again, a buddy of mine who exited an AI play. So he started this AI company, again, 8-9 years ago, and he exited. Apparently did very well with the exit. So anyways, so he's trying to figure out what he's going to do next. It's one of the reasons we were talking. And I was like, so are you going to do an AI play again? And he's like, probably not. I was like, what? But AI is so hot. It's so sexy. The curious thing is, right, he talked about it. And he said, well, the thing is, when I was doing the AI stuff, 8 years ago, when we were getting traction, if I posted something onto LinkedIn or whatever else, right, nobody cared about AI. And so the only people that did care about AI were the important people, the players, the people that were actually doing AI, cared about AI posts. So he was like, we could do something interesting, or I could find something interesting and I could post on it. That would attract the attention of real decision makers. And that was a great way to get more traction and grow. And he talked about it and he was like, look, when DeepSeek came out, there were 10,000 posts within like 2 hours. Right? There's just so much noise in the AI space right now. Again, even as somebody who successfully exited the space, again, business development, your business will live and die based off of biz dev, client acquisition cost, right? And the problem is, if there's so much noise in the AI world, what does that look for CAC? What does that look like for client acquisition? And so, again, one of the things you might be thinking about is if this is the world we're going to, again, like my buddy, 8 years ago. Did you care about AI 8 years ago? Again, AI's been around for a long time, boys and girls. Anyways, if we think about where technology is going and we think about technology cycles, what will be a noise-filled environment in 8 years? It's not yet. What can you get into now? What can you gain traction with now that most people aren't really thinking about, don't even really frankly understand? You know the value proposition. You know why it's interesting, right? Other people don't, or some other people do. Again, some decision makers do, so you can get some traction with them, but the rest of the world doesn't. And that's where I'm thinking, again, with this environmental computing. What does the TikTok of environmental computing look like? What is Instagram? What is Grubhub? What is Uber? Again, there was a CEO I knew years ago. It was interesting. He was talking about the old days, 1970s days. He owned a logistics company. And so anyways, they were doing all their logistics, pen and paper back then. It was 1970s. They were doing it with pen and paper, and it sucked. Again, the best solution was still a crappy solution. So anyways, he was seeing these fancy computer stuff out there. He was seeing these fancy computers. He was like, wow, I bet computers could make our lives better. So he literally went and he did informational interviews with the CEO of IBM, and he talked with all his computer folks, and he figured out where computers were going. He grasped the basic understanding of what computers were, because that was the thing in the 1970s. Okay, this is what a database is, blah, blah, blah. He figured out where the computers were going, and I shit you not, he paid for the full development. He paid coders for a year to develop this logistics suite. Right? So there's a logistics suite for, moving around shipments or whatever. And then you know what happened? It sat for another 2 years. He literally gave the go-ahead to build this platform 3 years before there were computers on the market that could run the code that he was having written. Basically had it created, the whole 9 yards, basically sat out there collecting dust for a couple years, waited for the computers to come online, bought the computers, made sure everything worked, and then all of a sudden that was another profit center for him, right? Because like logistics is a very regional type thing. Like even if you own a region, you really own that region, right? You might own Baltimore Harbor, you might own Norfolk, you might own Port of LA or something like that. But you're not going to own everything unless you're fucking insane, right? So anyways, so basically he owned his little area that he was happy with. And so basically he then just started selling this logistics software to all these other logistic companies all over the world and made a tidy sum of money off of it. Why? Because he saw the future of where technology was going. He talked with the people to understand what their plans were. He then built based off of those plans and then made tidy sum of money. When you start looking at what OpenAI is doing now with I.O., what does this look like in 2 to 3 years? What business can you build now based off of where this technology will be 3 years from now? That is the interesting question. So there you go. Some stuff to think about. I apologize. Oh man, we did a whole video and we talked about like technology and we talked about AI and we talked about design aesthetic. I know. You come here for me to bash Trump. You don't come here for this technology horse crap. So I'll try to keep this down. I'll try to keep this clickbait inflammatory crap off my channel just as much as possible. But I did feel this was an important video to do. So that's why I'm doing it for you folks. Anyways, just so you know, I don't really want to talk about Trump that much. It was really like, okay, I'm gonna do these videos. It's just gonna be tech. I'm gonna talk about the concepts in the world that are important to tech. And then Trump's been doing what he's doing. Trump's doing what he's doing. Again, like I say, if our president crashes our economy, it's gonna be a lot harder to get jobs. Like that's how do I get a job? Well, I'm not really sure how you get a job now, but you might want to get it quick because I can tell you, another couple months, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder. But anyways, we will be talking about technology. If you're at Web Summit, I am at Web Summit. You can say hello to me or whatever else. If you don't know what Web Summit is, pretty good place. I don't know if it's great for startups. To be clear with Web Summit, just to be clear, be honest, I don't know if it's great for startups. I get a little bit of a weird feeling with startups, like good startups. I think Web Summit is great for good startups. I think Web Summit is half a ripoff for bad startups. Again, it's not really Web Summit's job to tell you whether or not you're good or bad. So I think that can cause some frustration out there. But you know, if you're on the track to get investment, if you're really on the track for having a good product, if you're on the track for needing to get traction and that kind of thing, from what I've seen, I think Web Summit can be good for you as a startup company. Again, so many startups are just, my God, they're worse than me. They're barely even a fever dream. And so I think a lot of folks think like, oh, I have this thing that's barely a fever dream and I'm gonna go to Web Summit and then some prince is gonna sweep me off my feet and I don't know, we're gonna become a unicorn. Yeah, shit doesn't work. That's not how it works. So I think it costs like $2,000 or something to exhibit there as a startup. So you know, that's the kind of thing to be thinking about, like whether you go there as a startup. Like, do you need more experience giving your pitch? Right? Again, like that's training, that's a skill set that you need, right? Like if you went to school to learn how to weld and you practice welding, you would expect to spend money to practice welding. That's one of the things like with these startup things is, again, what is your expectation? Like if you want to get fucking good at your pitch, you're gonna go there. And I think it's like one day, you get like 1 day of actual having a booth and then the rest, right? So you get 8 solid fucking hours. Pitch. Again, there's real value there. Learning how to do the pitch, figuring out what works, figuring out what doesn't work, figuring out, does anybody give a damn about your product? Again, that's the thing. You get a lot of startup founders like crying like, oh, I paid $2,000 and nobody gave a shit about my startup. It's like, oh, money well spent. What do you mean? You mean bastard. I was like, what? You only spent $2,000 to find out nobody gives a fuck about your product. That's a win in my world. I wish some of my losses only cost that much money, right? So anyways, again, a bit of an expectation with that whole startup thing. So that can be good. I don't know. As an attendee, I don't really know what the attendees get out of it. A little more on the, I don't know, like the attendee, like if you're just an attendee ticket, I don't know why you're going. It's not the great, again, like CES is fucking awesome. Like CES as an attendee, go. There used to be this thing called Interop. That was a great IT agnostic conference. Fucking fabulous. Again, as an attendee, go to Interop. There's some of these conferences that are good. Like you just go, again, you're not a speaker, you're not a exhibitor. You can just go and you will get an amazing amount of information. I do kind of question that with Web Summit, because again, it's a lot of blowhard. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, how do you explain it? Again, it's the startup world. It's the startup world with new or cutting edge technologies. And they all think their piece of crap is going to change the world. And here's the thing, 1% of the pieces of crap will change the world. You will go to one of these things and like 5 years later, you're like, oh my God, I know those people. Fuck me, they did well. Yeah, you're not gonna remember any other people you met there though. So that's where it's like if you wanna know what the cutting edge is, Web Summit can be good for that. But again, a lot of the stuff that's cutting edge also gets put on the cutting room floor. Again, for media, I do have to say, if you wanna be like me, don't. But if you do, right, you want to become a technology YouTuber or blogger or whatever else, website, I tell you, like I say, I've been to Lisbon, I've been to New Orleans. Again, I was supposed to go to Toronto last year, then found out my passport was expired. Anyways, they are always terrific. Literally all these conferences I've been to so many conferences with media passes. I have to tell you, Web Summit bar none is the best for media. It's just, there's good about it. So there you go. Some things to think about, some things to ponder. I think I have to fold some clothes and pack today. See y'all later.